Welcome to this week's Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We have gone months without a Pennsylvania budget, but this week a state budget passed, was implemented into law, and we have Dave Taylor here to talk with us about what that means for you, your families, your communities when we come back next.
Welcome to the fast-paced and unrehearsed weekly discussion featuring the leaders who help shape your world. Join us as we address the issues that impact you each and every day. This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And now, here's your host.
So let's jump right in. We've gone several months, no Pennsylvania state budget. 4 months past the deadline, that was June 30th, but this week a budget passed. Here to break that down with us is Dave Taylor, President and CEO of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Dave, state budget finally passes. What does it mean overall? What is in this state budget? What does this look like?
Well, the spend number is above $50 billion, so it's the largest state budget ever. And certainly, we have divided government in Harrisburg between our Democrat governor and Democrat state house and Republican state senate. So it's a mixed bag, of course. The long-term fiscal health of the Commonwealth is a longstanding concern to us, our organization. So while this spend number spares the $8 billion rainy day fund, the emergency reserve, it does spend billions of dollars beyond what the Commonwealth actually collected in revenues this year. So it is concerning what the trajectory is going to be, what things will look like in 3 years or 5 years or further down the line.
So in terms of how that would equate to the average person,
yeah.
So what you're saying is in this year's budget, the state took in less than it's proposing to spend.
Correct.
Utilizing reserves to get through this year, but the future years do not look as promising.
Correct. And so Pennsylvania is suffering from a demographic crisis, and that is yielding what is called a structural deficit. That means that mandatory spending on social services is increasing faster than the growth of revenue collected by the Commonwealth. This is in large measure because Pennsylvania has a large and growing population of senior citizens, people who are beyond their working years, people who themselves often require taxpayer-funded services, but we don't have enough of the younger people in their working lives to pay the taxes to sustain state government at its current scale. That's why our group and our friends in the business community, like the Chamber, have advocated for a pro-growth agenda to help our economy to grow faster, to create more opportunities for younger people to build their careers and their lives and their families here in Pennsylvania.
So in terms of the pro-growth agenda, was there anything in this budget that would align with pro-growth policy, pro-growth development?
Well, there were a few important things that were accomplished. That we made progress on certainty with the approval of permits, that we need state government to move at the speed of business, and that when it takes longer or it's more cumbersome or more expensive to achieve regulatory compliance in Pennsylvania than in another jurisdiction, that's one more reason for people to build and operate in those competitor states.
So this will allow projects to move faster without sacrificing any environmental standards.
Correct. So,
and that was in this year's budget?
That was in this year's budget that we made progress on processing of permitting. The continued phase down of Pennsylvania's corporate net income tax continues. We still have one of the highest rates in the nation, but starting a few years ago, we did begin to roll the boulder of getting that rate down over time. Again, the challenge is that even when we reach the end of the phase down, we'll still only be at the rate that's being charged in Indiana and South Carolina today. So, I would argue that it's the right medication but the wrong dosage.
Now, why is lowering that C&I important? So that corporate net income tax, lower, why is that important for Pennsylvania?
Well, it's the overall cost of doing business. And so, we have competitor states like Texas that don't have a corporate tax at all. And so Pennsylvania's leaders need to be mindful of, the cost of creating and keeping jobs in the Commonwealth and what those costs are relative to other states, because ultimately private sector investment decisions are voluntary, and that we want it to be the smart business decision for people to choose to come to Pennsylvania.
So there were a number of other things in this budget that I think are really important to talk about. One of them is the state being into RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
Yes.
There were big movements there, a number of other components, and I want to talk about that when we come back next to this week's Pennsylvania Newsmakers.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities.
Disposable camera.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We continue our discussion with Dave Taylor, President and CEO of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. We're talking about the state budget. We talked about the spend. We talked about the overall impacts of the state's reduction in the corporate net income tax. We talked about permitting. One other piece you started talking about was the state's involvement in RGGI.
Yeah.
Major changes. What is RGGI?
Yes.
What did the legislature and governor just do from a Pennsylvania perspective in this regard?
Yes. So the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative is a multi-state compact imposing a carbon tax and then charging companies that emit carbon tax. Also, it focuses on the energy sector, on power production. And so Governor Tom Wolf unilaterally entered Pennsylvania into this compact, or said that he did.
And we're one of the largest energy generators as a state in the country.
Correct.
So that's where this is a real problem.
Correct.
Economically for Pennsylvania.
And that the other states that are in that compact are recipient states. They buy our energy. They buy their energy from other places, including from us. And so every other interstate compact in which Pennsylvania is a participant, that the participation was approved by a vote of the General Assembly. And so this was a very strange, unusual thing that Governor Wolf tried to do. Governor Shapiro not only kept us in that, claimed to keep us in that compact. It was all held in abeyance while this dispute was underway, but he sued in the courts to keep us in this compact to impose a carbon tax on the economy. And this state budget that the governor stood down, and it's going to go into statute that we are not part of that interstate compact and will not be.
So it would have been like, because we're such a dominant player, Pennsylvania, it's like having Michael Jordan, but saying he can only play with his right hand.
Yeah, I mean,
and we've taken that off. We've
yes.
gotten some clarity now. Is that your understanding?
Yes, and so I mean, I need to see the legislative language, but getting this off our backs is good. Again, I would say that this has been going on since 2019. So during that 6-year period, that business decisions were made thinking that this tax was a possibility, and as a result, it rendered our investment environment uncertain.
So really quickly, I want to jump into the tax parts.
Yes.
I want to get this in there. So this budget also had a provision on R&D expensing, big impact to manufacturers, so research and development. Give us a very high level, what does that look like?
So that it's traditional tax policy to allow deduction for corporate research and development. That's the brain function, especially of manufacturing, and it's one of the areas that adds the most value. So it's something the government wants to encourage. At the federal level, that there were tax improvements, benefits for businesses regarding their deductions with their engagement in research and development, that this state budget disallows those federal benefits from flowing through state tax policy. So Pennsylvania employers will not feel the fullness of that federal tax benefit, whereas in other states, they'll let that happen. So through that, we are creating a state-specific Pennsylvania disincentive to do that work.
So some real positives, some real challenges, as you just laid. As we look forward, this is all about making Pennsylvania more competitive.
Yes, sir.
Having a great workforce is key to that. As you look at that, what is the skills gap now? We're seeing a lot of data centers, too, come online in Pennsylvania. What are some of the benefits that has, and what are some of the skill gaps in order to meet that demand?
Yeah, I mean, the workforce crisis remains the number one challenge facing our manufacturing employers, that our employers are having difficulty finding a sufficient number of qualified new hires just to keep staffing at current levels of production. It winds up being a cap on economic growth because we can't, even if you would bid on new work, and there's work to be had, you couldn't find the people to hire to add a third shift to expand production. So the workforce crisis is real, and that we need a culture shift in Pennsylvania. We need to stop telling our young people that you have no choice other than pursuing a 4-year degree or you'll waste your life and we'll be ashamed of you. Like, there are great careers to be had in the skilled trades and in manufacturing, and we're going to need a lot more of those skilled tradespeople to build the data centers that you described, to our pipeliner guys to build the infrastructure. And if we want that future to happen, we need more skilled workers.
Well, you heard it here from Dave Taylor talking about the importance of skilled workers, and that is important for you to know and to come back, because in our next segment, we actually talk to someone about the importance of that skilled workforce, of the trades, and building manufacturing in Pennsylvania, all next on Pennsylvania Newsmakers.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Cross-State Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, visit crossstate.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
Welcome back. We ended that last segment talking about a really critical area that we're going to continue on with that discussion right now. With me to continue that discussion is Dr. Brad Webb, Pennsylvania College of Technology. So, Dr. Webb, we were just here with Dave Taylor, who's the head of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association, and we ended our discussion talking about the skilled workforce and the gaps that are occurring in Pennsylvania. Why don't you give us a background of what is Penn College of Technology and what you're doing right now to prepare students to fulfill that workforce needs in Pennsylvania, fill those workforce needs in Pennsylvania?
Well, thanks, Luke. Sure, I'd love to talk about Penn College. So we are Pennsylvania's premier technical college. We're offering students programs that lead to degrees in all of the skilled trades. So electrical technology, welding, manufacturing, polymer engineering, as well as nursing, health sciences, graphic design. But really committed to those hands-on learning opportunities. So we spend an hour in theory learning how these things work. And then we actually go to lab and put that in place. For 3 hours, we're actually welding or building a robot or doing the things that manufacturers need today. And so we're producing the graduates that can be billable on day one. They walk across our stage and walk right into industry ready to go.
Now, what do some of those graduates do? So you're talking about, so they go off the stage, they come to you, they get the training. Yeah. What careers what pathways do they have?
Yeah, so we have a lot of options. So we have associates, bachelor's, as well as master's degrees in a number of our areas. So depending.
So some 2 years, some 4 degrees, and you can even go beyond that if you want to come back.
Correct. In the health sciences, we offer some master's degrees for physician's assistants, for example, because you can't get enough healthcare providers in the state of Pennsylvania. But in the let's talk about my school, which is engineering technology. So we're really preparing those students to go off and be welders. So if they want the 2-year degree program, they can go and be a journeyman welder at a power plant, a data center, or up in our neck of the woods in in the Northern Tier doing natural gas pipelines. Or they can stick around and get that bachelor's degree in welding engineering. We're one of only 3 in the world that's ABET accredited, and that lets them go be lead engineers on some of the huge projects we won't be seeing in the defense industry. BAE Systems making the tanks here in Pennsylvania. The Newport News Naval Shipyard has billions of dollars of work in building new aircraft carriers and submarines, and they're looking for students with these types of expertise. But I think the thing that really makes us special is all of our students, whether they're an engineer or a hands-on welder or manufacturing student or roboticist, they all start with those hands-on pieces. So they can weld if they have to, or they can go in the office and do the engineering work that might be necessary that day.
So Dave talked about some of the stigma and challenges that historically were in place. But as I hear you talk, these sound like incredible opportunities that will lead to lifelong careers for people. Talk about some of the salary and compensation and financial opportunities that your graduates will have. I mean, some of them probably go out and have immediate job offers of significant salary ranges.
We do, yeah. So, I mean, across the board at the college, we're happy to say that we're 98% graduate placement. So within 6 months of a student graduating from Penn College, they have a job.
So 98 of 100 students have a job upon graduation.
Within 6 months of graduation. Okay. Most of them, yes, but our data is always 6 months out.
Sure.
So yeah, and the average starting salary is $63,000 with about a $5,000 sign-on bonus. But obviously that's going to change depending on industry. In welding, we're seeing it's not uncommon to have $85,000 starting salaries at the bachelor's degree level. Polymer engineering, same thing, $80,000 to $90,000. The physician's assistants obviously are a little bit higher, closer to 6 figures. Even electricians, automation engineers are all in those $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 ranges. So, you know, I like to say that we're creating family-sustaining wages that allow, our students to support their families and stay here in Pennsylvania. That's the other thing. More than 80% of our students stick around in PA and invest in our workforce.
So more than 80% of students stay in PA. 98% job placement rate within the first 6 months here, and really good, long, life-sustaining, family-sustaining wages to help your families out. I want to learn more. I want to educate folks if they want their kids to get involved and go into this track, or if I'm a student thinking about where to go. So we can't let you go anywhere. We're going to keep Dr. Webb with us here for the next segment and talk more about how this can impact you and your family when we come back on Pennsylvania Newsmakers.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania American Water. We keep life flowing across the Keystone State.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. Here with me, Dr. Brad Webb, Penn College of Technology, and you were just talking about all these incredible opportunities for young people to stay in Pennsylvania, to create incredible economic opportunities for themselves. But one thing I want to ask you is, how would you know about these? How would you learn about these? I'm a dad, I have 2 boys, and I want to educate them on these opportunities. Or if I'm a family and saying, you know, this maybe wasn't my field, but this is an opportunity to get into. How do people go and find out about these careers? What should they do? What should families do right now to be thinking about that as they're trying to give guidance or advice to the next generation?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a couple ways that Penn College tries to get this message out. We start as early as middle school or even younger, bringing elementary school students and middle school students to campus for summer camps. We have a middle school summer camp. We have high school camps where you can try over 2 or 3 days a different field. You know, I want to learn about automotive repair, and you can work on an engine and you can race a car and do those types of things. So it's a way to expose students to that. Obviously, the Pennsylvania Career and Technical Education programs across many of our high schools is a great way to introduce students to these types of fields that we then can expand on. And then, you know, I think obviously a visit to campus is always phenomenal. You can find a lot of information on our website, www.pct.edu. But
www.pct.edu.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. But all that's great, and pictures are awesome. But when you walk into our facility and see the largest collision repair labs in the nation, the largest welding labs in the nation, labs where we can build full houses. That really whoa, it makes people realize, the opportunities that are out there. And that's why I think a lot of the industry is coming to us as well. And they're providing us with a lot of the resources that they're going to use in the field immediately.
Well, what I love about this is everyone talks right now about AI. And so AI is disrupting their workforce, in many ways gaining efficiency. But it is forcing us to think about what the careers of the future are going to be, and we need to have a workforce that is skilled and utilizing their hands and doing things that AI will never do. And the careers you're talking about are all careers that are going to be needed and in much demand into the future. So when you see high demand skills, wages and everything going up, have you partnered successfully with employers? So if I'm an employer, how do I partner with Penn College?
Yeah. We have 4,000 corporate partners. Those are companies.
4,000?
4,000.
Businesses?
Yes. 3,000 of them in Pennsylvania alone. And they're coming to us because they're looking for our students, because they have this expertise and they can hit the ground running. And so they come and they tour, they hire our students. We have 2 huge career fairs with over 300 employers each semester. They sell out so quickly that we have to have smaller career fairs throughout the whole year.
You need a bigger boat. We need a bigger space here.
And industry's trying to grab our students, so we've been able to partner with them to get new technology. The type of education we provide is very expensive.
Sure.
And so we need their help.
Because you have to have the highest, equipment. You have to have equipment, right, that people are going to train on. So if they're going out and going to be workforce, to give them the optimal experience, they have to have all the latest and greatest, machinery and other technologies, correct?
Yeah, here's a great example in the automation world. So we have Ignition software. It is the software that drives almost all automated facilities. So if you think about a large package sorting warehouse like Amazon or FedEx or UPS, it's the software that makes all those vision systems, those robots, those conveyors work. We teach our students that in their second year. So they can go and get internships after their sophomore year, and they're actually programming that software and making those things work in industry as 20-year-olds.
So the cool thing about that is people talk about some of these warehouses, well, there's not going to be as many people working there, but what you're talking about is the people that are there are going to be highly skilled, understand how to utilize robotics, and work within the software parameters. So I think about the talent pipeline. What's that next opportunity? So if you're advising someone to come in, what does that look like as you're thinking about through education, policy, collaboration? What's that next piece on the horizon?
Yeah. I think the big thing for us in trying to educate folks in the state about what we do is the need for additional help. We have 100 programs, and 69 of them are on a wait list. Industry is desperate for our students. We can't bring any more in because we don't have the capital to add to our, either whether it's adding facilities or adding new equipment that allows us to educate more students. So there's this bottleneck that's happening in the state, and we need help from corporate or from the state government or just anybody to help us make sure that we can provide this type of education to students and keep it affordable. That's the other big thing. More than half of our students are first generation. Their folks have never been to college, and so it's really important that we can make this type of life-changing career possible.
So if you had one piece of advice to give to a younger person about how to find out in 10 seconds, what would it be?
I'd say get your hands dirty because you learn about the world by actually doing things with your hands. So start taking things apart, think about it, and then check us out on the website so we can show you how to do it the right way.
Wow. Dr. Brad Webb, Pennsylvania College of Technology, here with us. Great insights, gave out some great advice on what to do, how to get involved. Really impactful for not only Pennsylvania, but the future of our economy. I'm Luke Bernstein here for Pennsylvania Newsmakers. Thank you very much for joining us.